Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdul Basit. I'm a university instructor and a business consultant. Today the subject that we're going to talk about is very important subject. That is Michael Porter 5 forces model. This 5 forces model is actually an external analysis of an industry. Now, before jump into an industry, for you it is important to analyze the industry, that how much profitable an industry is, how much attractive an industry is to do an investment. So for this, Michael Porter suggested these 5 forces model. We know that how much difficult it is for a person when he has all his life saving and without any analysis he jumped into a market. So the chances are that he took this risk, and more often than not, it is just like, having your bag of cash with you and jumping into an ocean without realizing and without measuring the depth of that ocean, that how much deep that ocean is. Now, before jumping into that ocean with all your life saving, it is important that first you will do the analysis of that industry. Now, starting with the explanation of this 5 forces model, one thing you should bear in your mind and you should remember that if all these forces are high, if all these 5 forces, if all these forces are high, then that market is not attractive for you. There is no need to invest in that kind of a market. Or if all these 5 forces are low, so that market is a profitable market. You can go and invest into that market or invest into that industry. So these 5 forces will determine that whether you want to get into that industry or whether you don't want to get into that industry. Now, in the diagram, which is visible to you, in the middle section, if you can see, that is the rivalry among the existing competitors. Rivalry among the existing competitors mean that how competitors are, competing with each other in that specific industry, including you. So let's suppose if in Afghanistan, we take the example of telecom industry. Now, in telecom industry, you can say that this is an industry which is approximately saturated. Mean all the service provider, they have somehow captured the market. They have somehow fulfilled the potential customer needs in that market. So that market is approximately saturated. The competition in that market is very much intense. The intensity is there. In the telecommunication industry, we have Etisalat, we have MTN, we have Roshan, Afghan BSIM, Afghan Telecom. All those companies are striving with each other. And how will you know that whether these forces are high or low? The first thing is the number of competitors. You will count that how much or how many number of competitors are already existing in that market. The switching cost, that how much costly for a customer is to switch from one network to another network. And I guess that is not that much costly. Even it costs you 100 rupees, 100 apps to transfer from one network to another network. Again, that is also very low. The third one is the brand loyalty, that whether the customer are brand loyal or not. I think in telecommunication industry, mostly the customer are price conscious. So you will find in the telecommunication industry, mostly the service provider, they will have a price war. They will always try to attract customer by reducing the price. And if one of the service provider decreases the price, so you can say and you can see that others do follow the same pattern. Vice versa, if all those factors are low, when you have very less number of competitors, when the switching cost from one service provider to another service provider, if that is very high, and in the third, when the customer have the brand loyalty, so the competitors or rivalry between the existing competitors would be quite low. So again, that will be a tick for you and you can enter into that industry. This is the first force. The second force, as you can see at the top of the diagram, that is the threat of new entrants. Threat of a new entrance, actually it means that how much friendly that industry is. That whether in that industry anybody can come as a producer, as already existing player of a market or an industry, there will be always a threat that a new person, new company, new firm will come in and start a business. So we want to check that people can easily start this business or not. On the other hand side, if you look into the beverages industry in Afghanistan, so you will find that that industry is very friendly and very open for the investor to go there and invest their money and start the business. Plus, if you look at there, the government rules and regulation, that is also not that much strict to make hurdle or barrier for any businesses to go there and start that business. The third force that we have, that is the threat of a substitute product. What do you mean by substitute product? If any other product which fulfills the primary function of the other product, so you will switch to that substitute product. If we take an example of airline industry in Afghanistan, why do we use different airline? What is the main function of the airline? That is traveling from one place to the other place. So what are the substitute of airplane? Bullet trains, car, and other transportation facility in the market. This is called the substitute. Now if the airline, if they decreases the airfare, so what will happen? The customer will switch from the existing product to a substitute product. That would be bullet train, that would be another modes of transportation, because their main aim is traveling. And let's suppose if you have more substitute in market, it will also impact that industry. Again, if that force is high, so that market is not attractive for you. The fourth force that we have, that is the bargaining power of supplier, or we also call it as input source for that business or for that industry. Now again, taking the example of airline industry, now if you look at there, the supplier of the airline is that is providing the planes, and only two supplier in whole world they are producing the plane, Boeing International and the second one is Airbus. So now you can imagine that how much supplier has the bargaining power. Now you can understand that how much powerful the supplier is in terms of the bargaining power. So if the bargaining power of the supplier is high, again that market is not profitable. Not only this, the number of supplier, if you have lots of number of supplier, then you as a producer will have more bargaining power. But if you have limited number of supplier, if the supplier that you have choose for your product, if that supplier is a quality supplier. On the other hand side, if we look into the construction industry in Afghanistan, if you are an engineer and suppose if you require the inputs, the supplier, which is let's suppose the bulldozer, crane and other capital and machinery you require. So you can see that there, the producer in that industry, they will have the bargaining power, not the supplier. In the construction industry in Afghanistan, supplier don't have that bargaining power. So you can choose the price because there are lots of suppliers. And the next force that we have, that is the bargaining power of the customer or the outside source. Now here we will check that how much power the customer has, that whether how much extent the customer can put you in pressure in terms of cost. Let's for instance taking the example of electronic industry in Afghanistan. So in the electronic industry, as you can see that there are lots of producer of electronics. Let's suppose we have Sony, we have Panasonic, we have LG and lots of other Chinese producer. Now the customer is also knowledgeable about the product and they can choose the variety of the electronics, home appliances that is available in the market. So at that, the customer bargaining power is extremely high. That is the fifth force, which also compel you not to go into that industry. Why? The customer have more bargaining power compared to you. If the fifth force, that is the bargaining power of the customer, if that force is extremely high, so you cannot enter into that market. Other than that, we have two other additional forces, that is market entry barrier and market exit or industry exit barrier. Now, these are the two other forces. If those forces are high, so it is difficult to step into that industry. What do you mean by market entry barrier? Sometimes in some of the industry, it is not very easy to enter into that industry very easily. Like automobile industry. In automobile industry, if you are willing to enter into automobile industry, you require huge amount of capital, proper planning, well-equipped facility house, research and development. So all these are the requirements and a kind of a barrier for you to enter into that market. And so do, if you are involved in a market, so sometimes it is difficult, to get rid or get out of that existing market because of the government rules and regulation. And the last one is your market image, your product image. If you are involved in more than 4 or 5, 6 other products that you are producing in different industry, so it will impact the goodwill of the organization. I hope you have definitely learned something from my video. At the end, I would say that those family members or those friends who are about to invest in any industry, kindly share this video to them, that before entering into any industry, they have to analyze properly that how much profitable and attractive that industry is. Again, if those forces are high, that market is not attractive for you. That market is not profitable for you. So it is better to search for another industry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Inshallah, see you next time.